The camera pans across a weathered wooden swing set, CRE aching gently in the autumn breeze. A small red shoe lies abandoned in the sand below. As the frame widens, we see her, 7-year-old Lily, standing alone at her bedroom window, watching raindrops race down the glass, her reflection fragmented by the streams of water. Her eyes hold a wisdom far beyond her years, a quiet resilience that will change the lives of everyone she meets. If this beginning has captured your attention, please consider liking this video and subscribing to our channel for more heartfelt stories that remind us of the extraordinary power of love and resilience. Your support helps us continue sharing these meaningful journeys. Lily Morgan wasn't like other children in the small coastal town of Harborview. While her classmates collected seashells and chased waves, Lily collected words, beautiful, complicated words that she stored in a worn leather journal her mother had given her before she died. Ephemeral, serendipity, quintessence, words that made the other second graders scrunch their noses in confusion but made Lily feel closer to the mother she barely remembered. 3 years had passed since cancer took Sarah Morgan, leaving Lily and her father James to navigate life without her. James, a lighthouse keeper with calloused hands and a heart just as rough around the edges, did his best. But grief had carved a canyon between them that neither knew how to cross. Their routine was simple. James would make breakfast, usually burnt toast and scrambled eggs, before walking Lily to school. He'd mumble, "Have a good day, kiddo," without quite meeting her eyes, then trudge back to the lighthouse where he spent his days maintaining the beacon and avoiding the memories that haunted their small cottage. Lily would return home to an empty house, make herself a peanut butter sandwich, and sit at the kitchen table doing homework until her father returned at dusk. They'd eat dinner in near silence, the only sounds the scraping of forks against plates and the persistent ticking of the grandfather clock that had belonged to her mother. Mrs. Peterson, Lily's second-grade teacher, noticed the girls' isolation. While other children played tag during recess, Lily sat under the old oak tree, writing in her journal or reading books meant for much older children. "Lily," Mrs. Peterson said one afternoon, kneeling beside her under the tree, "would you like to join the others? I think Sammy and Emma are starting a game of hopscotch." Lily looked up from her book, a collection of poetry by Emily Dickinson, and shook her head. "No thank you, Mrs. Peterson. I'm at a good part." The teacher glanced at the complex text and then back at the small girl with auburn hair tied in uneven pigtails, clearly her father's handiwork. "You know, your mother was one of my students many years ago. She loved books just like you." Lily's eyes widened. "You knew my mom?" It was the first time Mrs. Peterson had seen genuine excitement in the child's face. "I did. She was brilliant and kind, just like you." That afternoon, instead of walking straight home, Lily took a detour to the town library. The building was a Victorian masterpiece with stained glass windows that cast rainbow patterns across the worn wooden floors. Miss Eleanor, the librarian who had worked there for over 40 years, looked up from her desk as the little bell above the door announced Lily's arrival. "Well, hello there," she said, adjusting her spectacles. "What can I help you find today? Do you have any books about moms?" Lily asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Miss Eleanor's expression softened. Everyone in Harborview knew about Sarah Morgan's passing. In small towns, grief was a communal experience. "I think I might have just the thing," she said, leading Lily to a section near the back of the library. That day marked the beginning of Lily's relationship with the library, and with Miss Eleanor, who became the first thread in a new tapestry of connections that would gradually fill the emptiness in Lily's life. Meanwhile, James Morgan was drowning in his own silence. Each night after tucking Lily in, he would sit on the porch swing that Sarah had loved, staring out at the lighthouse beam as it swept across the dark water. He knew he was failing his daughter, but he didn't know how to be both mother and father to a child who reminded him so painfully of what he'd lost. The turning point came on a stormy Tuesday in October. The school had called. Lily was sick with a fever. Could he come pick her up? James found her in the nurse's office, small and pale against the vinyl cot, clutching her journal to her chest even in sleep. "She's been asking for her mother," the nurse said quietly. Something broke inside James then, the dam he'd built around his heart cracked. He gathered his daughter in his arms, feeling how light she was, how fragile. When was the last time he'd really held her? Really seen her? At home, he tucked Lily into bed and, for the first time since Sarah died, lay down beside her, stroking her hair as she drifted in and out of feverish sleep. "Daddy," she murmured, "can you tell me a story about Mom?" James's throat tightened. He'd avoided talking about Sarah, thinking it would be easier. But looking at his daughter's flushed face, he realized his silence had only deepened their shared loss. "Your mom," he began, his voice rough with disuse, "loved thunderstorms. She said they reminded her that even the sky needs to cry sometimes." Lily's eyes fluttered open. "Really? Really? When you were just a baby, she would wrap you up and take you to the porch during storms. She'd point at the lightning and tell you it was the universe taking photographs because the moment was too beautiful to forget." A small smile touched Lily's lips before she drifted back to sleep. James stayed, listening to her breathing, watching the rise and fall of her chest. He'd been so afraid of his own pain that he'd forgotten the most important promise he'd made to Sarah, to make sure their daughter knew how deeply she was loved. The next morning, James called the lighthouse for the first time in 3 years. "I need the day off," he told his supervisor. "Family emergency." It wasn't exactly a lie. When Lily woke, her fever had broken, but she found her father still beside her, his eyes red-rimmed but clearer than she'd seen them in years. "How about pancakes?" he asked. "Your mom's recipe, with blueberries and that vanilla stuff she always put in." "Extract," Lily supplied, a tentative hope blooming in her chest. "Right. Extract." James smiled, really smiled, and Lily felt something shift between them, like the first thaw after a long winter. That day marked a new beginning for the Morgans. James called the school and told them Lily would be taking another day off. They made pancakes together, burning the first batch and laughing, actually laughing, at the charred mess. James found Sarah's old photo albums, and they spent hours on the living room floor, flipping through pages of memories. "You have her smile," James told Lily, pointing to a photo of Sarah at the beach, her hair wild in the wind. "And her brains. And her heart, especially her heart." Lily soaked in every word, every story, every connection to the mother she'd been quietly mourning without the comfort of shared memories. The following week, James approached Mrs. Peterson after school. "I'd like to volunteer," he said, the words feeling strange in his mouth. "For field trips or reading time or whatever you need. I want to be more involved in Lily's life." Mrs. Peterson, who had watched the quiet tragedy of the Morgans unfold over the past 3 years, squeezed his arm. "We're having a father-daughter dance next month. That might be a good place to start." James blanched. "I don't dance." "Neither do most of the dads," she assured him with a smile. "But that's not really the point, is it?" When James told Lily about the dance, her reaction was not what he expected. Instead of excitement, her face fell. "What's wrong, kiddo?" he asked, kneeling to her level, something he was trying to do more often, both literally and figuratively. "I don't have a dress," she whispered. "Or shoes. And I don't know how to dance either." James realized with a pang that there were so many things Sarah would have taught their daughter, things he'd never thought about. "Well," he said, "I guess we'll have to figure it out together." Their first stop was Miss Eleanor at the library. The elderly librarian clapped her hands in delight when James explained their predicament. "My sister owns the boutique on Main Street," she told them. "She'll help you find something perfect." The boutique visit led to an introduction to Mrs. Chen, who altered the dress to fit Lily's small frame and insisted on teaching them both a simple waltz in her back room, surrounded by bolts of fabric and the gentle whirring of sewing machines. 1 2 3, 1 2 3, Mrs. Chen counted as James awkwardly guided Lily around the makeshift dance floor, both of them stepping on each other's toes and dissolving into giggles. "Your mother was a beautiful dancer," James told Lily as they walked home, the altered dress carefully wrapped in tissue paper. "Much better than me. She used to say I had 2 left feet." "What does that mean?" Lily asked. "It means I'm terrible at dancing. But I'm willing to be terrible if it means dancing with you." The night of the dance arrived, and James found himself standing outside Lily's bedroom door, dressed in his one good suit, a small corsage in his hand. When Lily emerged in her blue dress, her hair arranged in a crown braid, courtesy of a YouTube tutorial and 3 failed attempts, James felt his breath catch. "You look just like her," he said softly. Lily beamed, twirling to make the skirt flare. "Do you think she can see us?" she asked. James knelt and pinned the corsage to her dress. "I think she's been watching over us all along, waiting for us to find our way back to each other." The gymnasium was transformed with twinkling lights and paper streamers. Other fathers and daughters filled the space, some dancing confidently, others swaying awkwardly to the music. James felt a moment of panic. What was he doing here? He didn't belong in this world of normal parents doing normal things. As if sensing his doubt, Lily slipped her small hand into his. "It's okay, Daddy. We can just sway. Mrs. Chen said that counts as dancing too." So they swayed, this broken man and his resilient daughter, finding their rhythm together. And for the first time since Sarah's death, James felt something like peace settle over him. Word spread quickly in Harborview about the change in the Morgans. The lighthouse keeper and his daughter became a familiar sight around town, at the ice cream parlor on Fridays, building sandcastles on the beach on weekends, attending community events that James had avoided for years. But it wasn't all smooth sailing. James still had days when grief overwhelmed him, when he retreated into silence. Lily still woke from nightmares calling for her mother. The difference was that now, they faced these moments together. One evening, as they walked along the shore collecting sea glass, Lily asked the question that had been weighing on her heart. "Do you think Mom would be mad that we're happy sometimes now?" James stopped, considering his words carefully. "Your mom loved happiness more than anyone I've ever known. She collected it like you collect these pieces of glass." He picked up a smooth blue shard, polished by years in the ocean. "I think she'd be proud of us for finding our way back to joy, even if it's different now." Lily nodded, tucking the blue glass into her pocket. "I'm writing a book," she confessed. "About Mom, and us, and everything that happened. Miss Eleanor is helping me." James felt a surge of pride mixed with trepidation. "Can I read it someday?" "When it's finished," Lily promised. "It's called One Little Girl, One Big Love Story." As they continued their walk, the lighthouse beam swept over them, a reminder of constancy in a changing world. James realized that while he had been keeping the light for sailors finding their way home, his own daughter had been the beacon guiding him back to shore. The seasons changed, and with them, the Morgan family continued to heal and grow. James joined the town council, advocating for a children's reading program at the library in Sarah's memory. Lily started a book club for kids who, like her, preferred words to playground games. On the 3rd anniversary of their new beginning, as they now called that fever-induced day of reconnection, James took Lily to the top of the lighthouse at sunset. The view was breathtaking, the town below them, the endless ocean beyond, the sky painted in shades of orange and pink. "I have something for you," James said, pulling a small box from his pocket. Inside was a locket, simple and silver. When Lily opened it, she found a tiny photograph of her mother on one side and a picture of herself and James on the other. "So we're always together," he explained, "all 3 of us." Lily threw her arms around her father's waist. "We already are," she said with the wisdom that still sometimes startled him. "Family isn't just who's here, it's who's in our hearts too." As they descended the lighthouse stairs hand in hand, James thought about the journey they'd taken, from isolated grief to connected healing. It hadn't been easy, and it wasn't perfect, but it was theirs. One little girl had taught him that love doesn't end with loss, it transforms, it adapts, it finds new ways to express itself. In the years that followed, Lily's book became a reality, first as a school project, then as a self-published story that found its way into the hands of a visiting publisher. By the time Lily entered high school, One Little Girl, One Big Love Story sat on bookstore shelves across the country, touching the hearts of other families navigating their own journeys through grief. James kept every review, every letter from readers who found comfort in their story. On particularly difficult days, Sarah's birthday, their anniversary, he would read them aloud to remind himself of the ripples their love had created in the world. Lily grew into a thoughtful young woman with her mother's compassion and her father's strength. She still collected words, still found solace in books, but she also learned to dance and laugh and embrace the fullness of life. The journal her mother had given her remained her most treasured possession, now filled with a decade of thoughts, memories, and dreams. On Lily's 18th birthday, James took her back to the top of the lighthouse. The view was the same, town, ocean, sky, but they were different, shaped by years of intentional love and shared healing. "Your mother would be so proud of who you've become," James said, his voice steady now when he spoke of Sarah. "I know I am." Lily leaned her head against her father's shoulder, feeling the strength that had carried them both through the darkest times. "We did it, didn't we? We found our way back to each other, just like in my book." "We did," James agreed. "And that's the thing about lighthouses, kiddo. They don't just warn about dangerous shores, they guide you home." As the sun dipped below the horizon and the lighthouse beam began its nightly journey across the water, father and daughter stood together in comfortable silence, their shadows merging into one. Their story, of loss and recovery, of a little girl and a big love, continued to unfold, a testament to the resilience of the human heart and the enduring power of family bonds that transcend even death. In the end, it wasn't just Lily's story, or James's story, or even Sarah's story. It was their story, one of broken pieces made beautiful again, of light finding its way through the darkest nights, of love that transforms but never truly ends. And as they made their way back down the winding stairs to the home they had rebuilt together, both knew with certainty that this wasn't an ending at all, it was simply another chapter in their continuing story of love. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to our channel. Your support allows us to continue sharing stories that remind us of the power of love, resilience, and the unbreakable bonds that connect us all. Thank you for joining us on this journey through One Little Girl, One Big Love Story.